Grass, the turf course is yielding and risk averse, and several other horses in this field would have had to ship in from other racetracks, so their trainers opted just to play it safe. Risk averse actually is now scheduled to run tomorrow at Belmont Park, where the conditions on the turf course are expected to be much better.
Here's a look at the field, and you will notice several scratches in here.
You take out the 1 and the 2, obviously there, media access, and you'll be happy. Saranac Lake, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Burt Firestone and trained by Bill Mott. This horse is 2 for 3 lifetime with Jerry Bailey. Guitar at 22-1. Carib Lady, a horse dropping down in distance, trained by Todd Pletcher at 6-1. Vespers from the Shug McGahee stable at 7-2 with Jose Santos to Firm Dancer. Jockey Pat Day scratches there. Katzen, Risk Averse, the big scratch. She would have been a pretty solid favorite here. Also, you saw scratch number 10, Morena Park. 11, Guillotine. 12, La Belle Simone. Another one that was in New York. And then 13, Lady Linda. Lady Linda is trained by Mary Epler, who won this race last year at odds of 6-1 with a horse called Quidnaspera, rounding out the field from the 14, not the 14 post position. I think she's going to drop into number 8 now, but Lady of the Future, number 14 in the program. And
ridden by the enthusiastic Ryan Fogelsonger as he tries to conserve his energy before the Preakness comes up a little bit later on. There's Jerry Bailey. He'll be on board, and we'll have the Gallarette when we come back. Today at the Preakness is presented by Visa. Gives you an idea of the jockey's view right there. From the gate break down the turf course, as I mentioned, we haven't had very many races on the grass here in a while. Solid rain yesterday, so this will be the first in a couple of days. But it's a good one, the 52nd running of the Gallarette Handicap, a grade 3, and the hearses now have made their way to the turf course. And there's the favorite, a Firm Dancer, ridden by patient Pat Day.
Right now, Firm Dancer at 3-1 on the board. Saranac Lake 8-5 right now. There is a look, though, at a horse who has inherited some consistency from her sire, the legendary Affirmed. This, of course, being the 25th anniversary of Affirmed's Triple Crown campaign in 1978, and she even looks a little like her sire. She's got that same chestnut coloring. This is a filly that would have run on turf or dirt, John Kimmel told me this morning, because she can perform equally as well on both surfaces, and she has won 4 of 7 starts with 2 seconds, so she's almost always right there.
We know an off track will change a race on the main track, but what about a yielding turf course?
A yielding turf course has more impact on the outcome of a turf race than a good racetrack, as we're seeing right now on the main track, does. But one thing about Affirmed, well, it's not so much Affirmed Dancer. One thing about the favorite in here, number 3, Saranac Lake, who right now is at 3-2, is that she spent part of her career in Ireland, where in Europe the courses are watered a lot more heavily than they are here in the United States, and they typically are run on soft or yielding, as we would call it. So she's accustomed to it, and she should handle it very well. One reason why she wasn't scratched out.
Started with a field of 14. It has been whittled down to about 7, and now with the call of the Gallarette, here's Dave Rodman.
Lady Linda steps in, and Lady of the Future. 2 ladies in, and they're off in the Gallarette. A Firm Dancer off to a flawless beginning there. Saranac Lake racing up on her inside, and Lady Linda's right up close to the pace. Not too much of a pace on early here. There goes Lady Linda on the outside of the Firm Dancer down toward the rail. They're sharing the advantage past the line, and Saranac Lake has been taken back a bit on this yielding turf by Jerry Bailey. Then we go back to Carib Lady. Guitar is next in line. To the back of the pack, Lady of the Future, and Vespers is last of all, and 7 or 8 lengths in the front. Around the turn, Lady Linda. Robbie Alvarado going on with it here by almost 2 lengths. Saranac Lake is racing second. A Firm Dancer settled back in the 3rd spot. Guitar is on the outside. Carib Lady in striking range there in between runners, and it's back to Lady of the Future. Vespers is last of all. Midway up the backstretch now, Lady Linda, uncontested, but Saranac Lake poised for a run now, and here comes Saranac Lake on the outside. Guitar 3rd, a Firm Dancer to the rail, racing in 4th, followed in 5th by Carib Lady, just 3 lengths in the front. Then back to Lady of the Future. Vespers has some running to do now, still about 6 lengths off the lead. There's less than a half mile to go. In the Gallarette, it's still Lady Linda. Saranac Lake still there on the outside with some run, and Saranac Lake's coming to quicken them up on the outside. They dash for home with 3/8 of a mile left to run. Down to the inside is Carib Lady. Lady of the Future is right there, 2 of the winning shot with 1/4 of a mile left to run. Here comes Saranac Lake on the outside to try to gain command. Lady of the Future out toward the center there. Carib Lady, and Lady Linda digs down on the inside, and a Firm Dancer toward the middle of the course. Vespers with her late bit on the extreme outside. It's wide open with 1 furlong to go. Carib Lady comes through, and Carib Lady's grabbed the lead. A Firm Dancer, Lady of the Future, fights on for a piece too, but they're close to home, and Carib Lady, a Firm Dancer down the line. Carib Lady holds to win. A Firm Dancer second, Lady of the Future, then Lady Linda and Vespers, and Saranac Lake and Guitar.
Carib Lady, Irish bred, just another classic turf race. Everybody in a bunch at the top of the stretch, and fight it out, see who can get there first.
And Carib Lady on the board at 30. Is that right? No, she is 6-1 right now. I was looking at the wrong horse. 6-1 Carib Lady, and this is another example of a horse like Saranac Lake, a horse that raced in Ireland, actually France. Saranac Lake raced in Ireland. Carib Lady ran the first, looks like the first 9 starts of her career overseas, running on softer turf courses. And ironically, she's been running in much, much longer races. Her last 2 starts, her only 2 starts in the United States, at 1.5 miles. And she showed some speed in those races, but Todd Pletcher opted to drop her back down in distance here to 1 1/16. And the difference in distance obviously made no difference at all to Carib Lady, ridden by Pat Valenzuela.
Made her U.S. debut back in March of this year. Both starts this year in Allowance Company, and she also won her U.S. debut at Gulfstream Park.
A fabulously bred filly by Sadler's Wells out of a Be My Guest mare. And there's a look at P-Val. Pat, congratulations. Pat, can you hear me all right?
Charlie, did you call it all clear?
Maybe not. Let's try one more time. Yo, Pat. I think I'll pull the plug. What do you think?
Yo. Well, we tried to talk to Pat Valenzuela. The last time he had a Triple Crown mount back in 1994 in the Preakness.
And he was, of course, originally, I think, going to ride 10 Cents a Shine, but then Jerry Bailey picked up the mount there at the last minute in the Preakness.
Got some late jockey changes keeping P-Val out, and hopefully we'll talk to P-Val when we come back to Pimlico. Carib Lady, the winner of the Gallarette, 52nd running, and how tough was that yielding turf course? Slowest time in its 52-year history.
Pat Valenzuela, of course, is a great story. He's had a history of substance abuse problems that at various times looked like it had derailed him from riding for the rest of his life, possibly, and yet he's made a series of comebacks. This one really appears to have stuck. He was the leading jockey at the recently concluded Santa Anita meeting, and when P-Val is really on all cylinders, and when he's got his personal life in order like he does now, he is one of the best in the business. And I know the guys who handicap races out in California really seriously think that as well. Now there's the one more look at the start of the Gallarette. Back in the back in the white silks and the white shadow roll, that is Carib Lady. She had been showing more speed in her 2 U.S. races, but again, those were 1.5 mile races with very slow fractions, so it was no surprise that she was at least toward the back, mid-pack or further in the early stages of the Gallarette. She found a seam between horses in the stretch. Now you'll see her tucked behind there, tucked behind the leaders. That's Saranac Lake in the green silks, and she'll cut through right there in between Saranac Lake and Lady Linda. When Saranac Lake begins to fade, the hole opens up and P-Val hustles her right through it. They're the one on the outside. I guess, well, I'm not sure who that is, just outside her. That's the 14 Lady of the Future. Far outside now, the run from a Firm Dancer. Again, who's very consistent and almost always runs a race like she did here, but obviously Carib Lady. The Irish-bred, French-raced filly had enough left to hold on.
She has now won 4 of 12 lifetime starts and earned $128,000. And Pat Day almost getting there with a Firm Dancer, at least made it worth watching there at the wire. But in the end, it was Carib Lady, the Irish bred, that did get the win. And there is P-Val enjoying the winner's circle. And it is official now. Winning time there, 1:50.69, as we mentioned, by like 3/5 of a second. It's the slowest time in history.
Lady of the Future hanging on for third at 14. Number 14 looks pretty bad there, but with all those scratches, I think she wound up breaking from post position number 8, so that wasn't so bad after all. Another $60 trifecta, or exacta, $64 to try. $681.80. Long shots. or at least mid-priced horses, contributing to some nice trifecta payoffs.
Yeah, if you picked up the program last night and did all your handicapping, it was a waste of time. With horses dropping out here and there, you got to start all over again. We have more live racing still to come. Everything is official in the 52nd running of the Gallarette, a grade 3, and here is the full order finish.
Karib Lady earning the first stakes victory of her career. A disappointing performance for both Vespers, the Shook McGahee trained mare, finishing 5th, and also 6th place Saranac Lake, who previously had been beaten only in the U.S. with some traffic trouble. She had no traffic problems today, but still, perhaps the turf course didn't suit her after all.
All right, to wrap up the Gallarette, let's go to the Jocks Portion. Janine Edwards, who's with P-Val and V-Val.
That's right, Jeff. His wife's name is Valerie, lovely wife Valerie here, and we couldn't get you out on the Outriders pony. The mic wasn't working, so we thought we'd get you up here, which is even better. Nice ride on Carib Lady, a filly that seems to excel on a softer turf course.
She did excel today on a soft going, and Todd told me just to put her behind horses and that she'd pick it up to the stretch, and that's exactly what she did. Todd gets all the credit because I was just a pilot today. She ran a very big race.
Well, congratulations on that. Now, we haven't seen you in a Triple Crown race since Numerous, I believe, in 1994. And I know you thought you were going to get there with Cafwayne in the Derby. Didn't happen. And now 10 cents a shine, it didn't happen. Kind of disappointing for you, I'm sure.
It's very disappointing, but, you know, the man upstairs takes care of everything. And in all due time, in his time, things will happen, and we'll be on a Triple Crown winner hopefully one day.
You deserve a lot of credit because it looks like you have turned things around, definitely.
Thank you, and it's a lot all apart because of my lovely wife here who's given me a lot of support. My family, my daughters, Michelle, Christine, Elizabeth, Callie, and Brianna, all of them are watching, and I want to say hi to you girls and tell you that we love you guys.
And congratulations on a great Santa Anita meet. And I think for most people, when you ask them if they can pinpoint their most memorable Preaknesses, they say Affirmed and Aladar, and Sunday Silence, and Easy Goer. You, of course, on Sunday Silence. What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember as a grueling stretch duel, you know, with Easy Goer on the inside and I on Sunday Silence. Me and Pat Day had a heck of a battle that day, and we got lucky to prevail at the wire. You know, Sunday Silence was a very good horse, and it marks down as one of the best Preaknesses I've ever seen. You know, yeah. I watched Aladar and Affirmed as a child on TV, not a child, but 14 years old on TV, and then to win the Preakness in the manner that Affirmed did, I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, it was thrilling. And Valerie, we have to wish you a happy birthday because today is your birthday, and what a great birthday present. He wins a graded stake for you.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations.
I love you.
All right, congratulations to both of you, and hopefully we'll see you in another Triple Crown race pretty soon.
You bet.
All right, back to you guys, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Janine. We go to the Citgo current odds for the Preakness Stakes, and Scrimshaw and Senior Swinger there at 7-2. And Randy, what do you notice there?
I notice almost no change since the last time we looked at it. Peace Rules, Funny Side, still the co-3-1 favorites. We said numerous times over the last few days it looked like a toss-up as to which one of those two would wind up being the betting favorite, and I'd say right now it's still a toss-up.
Well, Funny Side, when you get into that, these guys didn't have the usual Kentucky Derby victory party. I mean, they had one, but then everything seemed to come unravel just because of one little picture.
One little controversy that turned out to be not much of a controversy at all once all was said and done.
That's right. The media seems to be, well, we jump on a story. I think it's pretty safe to say. But Jose Santos, it appeared that he had an object in his hand. But when it was all said and done, I know you wrote a great article on ESPN.com. It motivated you enough to write an article that it was just one big misunderstanding.
Well, sure. When you initially took a look at the photo, you kind of were a little bit surprised, you know, because the way his fingers were shaped and it looked like there was a shadow in his hand, you know, you kind of wondered there. But then all it took was just to look at another photograph, for example. That's the AP photograph on the left, taken at almost the exact same time. You can see the circle around jockey Jerry Bailey behind Santos on Empire Maker, and his goggle strap on the left. You see on the right, the goggle strap was just behind the palm of Santos, and that was probably the reason for the shadow. Or you just had to go look at the NBC replay and watch the horse coming down to the wire and watch what Santos was doing with the whip and why his fingers were shaped that way as he twirled the whip, and that explained it all.
And as Kurt Hoover reports here, Jose Santos was confident all along that justice would prevail.
I was always keep my head up because I was not carrying nothing but my whip in my hands, and I know I was innocent, but I was very depressed because the bet present I have, you know, the embarrassment.
And I felt sorry for Santos. I felt sorry for his family to have to go through that. The only thing I can say about Jose Santos, he's a world-class rider and he's a world-class person.
And we believed in Jose, and those roses that I carried home like a baby, my husband promised me those roses 10 years ago when he gave them to me. You know, he won the Derby. That's you know, so precious. It's right there next to our children.
The ultimate goal in horse racing, finally attained. But hopefully there will be a day when the Kentucky Derby of 2003 will be remembered on its own merits, without the aftermath caused by a misinterpreted photograph in one overzealous newspaper.
They always want to be in their minds, you know. Yeah, that's Jose Santos win the 129th Kentucky Derby, but that was the guy probably was carrying a machine, or probably not.
Throughout the short-lived controversy, Santos was silent, letting the evidence, or lack of it, make his case. But that doesn't mean the accusations didn't hurt.
That was horrible, but you know, now come back to normal. And we want to have to keep going, and my mind is clear now. And now we just have to keep moving on.
And move on he will, to today's Preakness Stakes, where the Eclipse Award-winning rider feels Funnyside has a chance to move him one step closer to an elusive Triple Crown.
He looked great. He looks very happy. Paquita is doing a real good job with him. He's doing the best for the horse, and I have so much confidence in this horse, and he's going to run another tremendous race.
Well, any lingering effects, I know that his peers, the jockeys, really jumped in behind him, and, you know, they weren't having any of it. When it's all said and done, will this even be remembered?
Well, there are always going to be people out there who are conspiracy freaks by nature, you know, and they're always going to believe the worst in everything, and no matter how many pictures you show them, how much video you show them, they're never going to believe it. But I think the biggest lingering effect of this whole thing is that there are, I guarantee you, there are thousands of people around the country who are just moderate so-so horse racing fans who may not even have heard that Funnyside won the Kentucky Derby, never heard of the horse at all. Now they have become Funnyside fans and Jose Santos fans, and they have somebody to pull for in the Preakness.
But there's still that group out there that says Martians have landed in Roswell. There were shots from the grassy knoll, and Jose Santos had something in his hand. He's a heck of a magician if he had anything in his hand. But later today, he'll go with Funnyside, and you can bet that if he can win the second jewel in the Triple Crown, it will be some kind of a party at Belmont when the New York bred Funnyside gears up for the third jewel in the crown. Part of the festivities for the Preakness, the 128th running. Lee Greenwood here, very patriotic. Skydivers as well. Lots still to come, though, here at Pimlico as we get closer to post time. And just a reminder, hockey later today on ABC as the drive to the Stanley Cup continues. The coverage on ABC presented by Nextel. It starts at 3 o'clock. New Jersey and Ottawa. Game 4. See the Devils lead that series 2-1. Next up for us, though, it's the Maryland Breeders' Cup. This is a Grade 3. The distance pretty short, 6 furlongs on the main track, open to horses 3 and up.
And this one, again, was run much earlier in the afternoon. It was actually the 4th race on the card, so we'll bring it to you on tape. We're coming up on the 8th race live. The Maryland Breeders' Cup, a race that has seen some interesting things happen. This was the race 1999 when the guy who climbed the fence in the infield ran out on the racetrack and took a swing at Artax. Fortunately, we had none of those untoward incidents that happened in this year's Maryland Breeders'
It was a lot hotter day that day.
Oh, it was. I remember that.
It's 9-day, probably 40, 50 degrees difference. But this field, well, I think the first thing you'll notice is the track's going to be a little bit more on the wet side here, but still was a pretty good race. Let's take a look at the field.
And you're also going to notice an unusual thing there, a 3-horse mutual coupling owned by Michael Gill. Number 1, Tasty Cabernet, trained by Mark Schumann. 1A, Pioneer Boy, trained by Jack Robb. And the 1X, Highway Prospector, again trained by Mark Schumann. And you can see they were very highly regarded. The entry, a 3-5 favorite. Number 2, Crossing Point, another top sprinter in Maryland, scratched. Sassy Hound at 3-1. Clergy and Pat Day, trained by Shug McGahee, he's 7-1. Number 5, The Deputy is Home, and Jorge Chavez at 3-1. And number 6, Shah Jahan, is trained by Wayne Lucas. Lucas was looking for his 4th win in the Maryland Breeders' Cup, and Shah Jahan, a 14-1 shot, was ridden earlier today again by Gary Stevens.
As